Hello, this is Dr. Anthony Festmeyer. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to use three different minor scales in improvisation: the minor pentatonic scale, the Aeolian mode, aka the natural minor scale, and the Phrygian scale. Now, we've checked out all three of these scales in other lessons, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over the details of the individual scales. Here, we're mainly going to focus on comparing the three scales so we could try using them together. We will do our demonstration in the key of A minor, so all three of these scales will work with an A minor chord or an A minor 7 chord. Let's start with the A minor pentatonic scale. This scale, being a 5-note scale, has A, C, D, E, and G notes. The minor pentatonic scale will give you a bluesy sound that is common in blues music, of course, but also all kinds of contemporary music, including jazz and rock and funk and R&B, country music, really all kinds of contemporary music. Now, if we compare those 5 notes of the minor pentatonic scale to the Aeolian scale, or natural minor scale, basically all we're doing is adding 2 more notes. We're basically filling in the holes. So, the A minor pentatonic scale, again, goes from A to C at the beginning. There's a skip there. So we're going to fill in between with the B note. A, B, C, instead of A to C. We continue up the scale. Next we have D and E. The minor pentatonic scale next would skip up to G, but we're going to fill in between with the F. So for the natural minor scale starting on A, we get A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now this is a very traditional sounding scale. It's used in all kinds of music and is really the most common type of minor sound that we hear. The next minor scale that we're going to check out is the Phrygian scale. The Phrygian scale has exactly the same notes as the natural minor scale, but it lowers the second degree of the scale. So let's check that out. If I start here on A, the second note of the natural minor scale would be B. We're going to lower that note by a half step to B flat. Now that gives us a half step from the beginning note, which we call tonic, A, to B flat. Most scales start with a whole step right at the beginning, so this is a very characteristic sound to have a minor scale with a half step right at the beginning. It's very unique and it's very recognizable. So we get these types of sounds with Phrygian. So the notes of the Phrygian scale are A, B flat, C, D, E, F, and G. Again, the same notes as the natural minor scale, just the B's become B flats. By the way, to find those on the guitar, there are 3 B's in this particular position. There's the B at the 7th fret of the low E string. I move that back to the 6th fret to get a B flat. The high E string has exactly the same letter names and fret positions, so I'm going to do the same thing on the high E string. B at the 7th fret becomes B flat. And then there's one more B. It's on the D string up here at the 9th fret. So to get B flat, I move that back by 1/2 step. So just a quick review, the notes of the minor pentatonic scale, the scale to get that bluesy sound, are A, C, D, E, and G. The notes of the natural minor scale are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We could think of filling in the holes in the minor pentatonic scale and adding the B and F notes. And then the Phrygian mode just takes the B from the natural minor scale and lowers it by a half step to B flat. Now let's go ahead and check out a possible performance using these different scales. In this example, I'm going to take 8 measure phrases, so you'll hear the first 8 measures I'll be improvising with the minor pentatonic scale on A. For the next 8 measures, I'll be improvising with the natural minor scale, the next 8, the Phrygian scale, and then finally I'll finish it off again with the minor pentatonic scale. I'll diagram this as we're listening to the performance so you can see exactly where the changes are. Now, if you decide to play along with this performance, you might notice that at the 8th measure of each pattern, there's a drum fill that sounds like this. So if you're playing through the form and you're not quite sure where you are in those 8 measures before switching to the next scale, you might recognize that drum fill as an indicator that the section is coming to an end and leading into the next section. All right, let's check out this performance.